You know, UCLA strong today. You're going to Arizona after we beat y'all.
I'm
I
going
see how it
there.
is.
Beat y'all.
Okay, I understood.
I'm a fan of both teams, man.
I'm glad you're on the right side of history. That's all I got to say. glad to be back. It's your boy G with Alec. Another great episode for you guys. For all the love you guys showed to us last week. Y'all been showing a lot of love on YouTube and things. We definitely appreciate that. Continue to like, rate, subscribe, all the good stuff for us. And continue to build this thing up. And excited to keep this thing rolling. We're back with a good group of episodes this week again. To keep this thing going as discussed. This first off, talking about NFL free agency that just started. Talking about the Rams and some of the moves they've made. Talking about the Chargers, some of the moves they've made. And I might sneak in, as Alec always skips to the end, I might talk a little bit about Lamar Jackson at the very end if we can sneak that in some kind of way. But if you want to talk about those, then we'll get on to March Madness and some other fun things for you guys this week. So a lot of good stuff across the board. For our first episode, we'll do this intro for you guys, and then we'll get this thing rolling. Appreciate y'all.
Yeah, I'm flying out to Tucson tonight, so that's part of the reason I had to throw on the shirt.
Please, Joe, shit, you went all the way up to Arizona and everything. That's crazy. Anyways, starting up here, as you guys see, as you guys clicked in here for talking about the LA teams and their path back to success. Both the Rams and Chargers made some moves off season that have been interesting to look at in two different ways. The Rams have been clearing house, and the Chargers have been trying to restock and get this team to be the title contender that we all believe them to be. So very interesting things on both sides. And the main question as we go further into it is, as you guys see, which LA team gets the Super Bowl next, the Rams or the Chargers? Alec, what you think?
I think it may be a few years for either team to get there, to be honest. I think the Rams have an easier path just because of the NFC being a weaker conference in totality. You got the two teams, the Niners and the Eagles probably will still be pretty strong next year, but after that, it's pretty much a toss-up, like who's the third best team and who will finish out the playoff slate for the NFC, whereas the AFC is like a gauntlet, and it's going to be even more so if Rodgers is going to the Jets as well. So I would say probably the Rams, just by way of competition or less competition in their conference. The Chargers are set up, I would think, with more pieces structurally right now, but we've seen they continue to get in their own way once it comes to playoff time. So I think I trust the coaching staff and the executives of the Rams a little bit more as well. So I'll say the Rams get there before the Chargers do. It's hard to trust the Chargers now.
I want to lean the same way because I did like. I'm glad that McVay stayed. I'm glad that they still have Aaron Donald. As you said, they have cleared the house a little bit. Made some of the moves that we discussed a while back. They got like Wagner's out the door. Jalen Ramsey just got traded. And Matt Stafford. One side says he's their guy. The other side says they might try to find a new home for him in the near future. So it's very up in the air. But with having some of the main pieces there is very well a possibility. I think the Chargers are in a spot where they have to get out of their own way, and they feel the pressure now and understand that moves need to be made to do that, and they're adjusted accordingly. They added some linemen already this offseason. They got Eric Kendricks as a linebacker for that defense to help out there, and they're continuing to make moves that should help them in the long run. I know that things are up in the air right now with Austin Eckler. There have been talks about him unable to sign a contract, so maybe look to move him. But beyond that, as vital of a piece he is, realistically and respectfully, I guess, I think he is a piece that can be found in other guys if they had to move on from him. So with that being the case, I think if you still have Herbert there, you still have Mike Williams and Keenan and guys of that nature, just that whole receiving core, because those two, as you just showed, are questionable and have had injury concerns. That whole group. The guys that stepped up in their absence multiple times this offseason, as well as whoever they may add going forward, I think there will be enough there to make a run. Now, I think learning from the big collapse of this last season and the collapse they've had throughout their whole history, I think they definitely can get over the hump in the near future and finally break through and get to a Super Bowl. So I'm not going to go Chargers in that, though I do see how this slight Rams rebuild can get them back on track as well.
Yeah, that's tough. I'm just like, I picked the Chargers in this last playoff game against the Jaguars, and it looked like they were set up to cruise into the next round.
I told you about Staley, man.
And they blew it. You picked off Trevor Lawrence 5 times, and they still blew it. So it's just hard for me to put faith in them, because like when someone like tells you who they are, like it's your duty to believe them, and they've showed us like who they are for years upon years. Like,
again, yeah.
Once it comes to the big moment, they can't get out of their own way. So that's really the only hesitancy, because like I said, I think they have slightly better structure as far as roster at this current moment. But I assume the Rams will be retooling in the near future as well. And they still have Cooper Kupp. It's a question who's going to be the starting quarterback, as we said. Baker Mayfield signed with the Bucks, so he's no longer the bridge guy that we thought he might be for them. So that's a big question mark as far as the QB position. But they do still have some pieces that they can build around, and they do still have McVay. So I think I trust them a little bit more, even with the bare bones of a roster that they kind of have in some ways now.
As they're going through this rebuild and looking at what's around, I guess their main guy, who I mentioned, Aaron Donald. Should Aaron Donald want to stay through this rebuild? And do you think they can get him back in position to be successful again? Or do you think he should want to move in the midst of this turnover as well?
I think having won the ring just 2 seasons ago and having that loyalty to this group, he's only played here his entire career. Only other place I could see him going is the Steelers, because Pittsburgh. He played for Pitt, but other than that,
hate to say it, but him and TJ Watt would be nasty.
Oh, it would be whoo.
Yeah,
woo.
Even at this age or whatever. Yeah. As a Baltimore fan, man, I don't want to see that. But I hear you.
That might be the best defense in the league if they can figure out some things in the secondary. So yeah, I really couldn't see him going anywhere other than there, potentially. So I think it makes sense for him to ride it out. There was talks of him potentially retiring right after the ring. So that seems like that's on the horizon as well. So if it's only going to be a season more or 2, I'm sure he wants to win still. I mean, like he's a fierce competitor. But yeah, I don't really see him moving on from the Rams unless it's the Steelers. Yeah.
Got it. So we'll see how that work out for them. And I guess going back to the Chargers then, beyond the coaching staff, do you think Justin Herbert needs to continue to elevate his game to go over the hump, or are the issues just the things that are around him still?
I mean, if you ask the NFL community, it seems like no. They still got this dude number 2 on the QB list. Like I don't know what he's shown us. I don't know what he's shown us to this point to deserve that type of ranking, that status. But for me, he's got to show me something. Come playoff time, like we see the arm talent. He's an incredibly talented QB, but he didn't really do anything in that game to put the Chargers over the hump either. Like the defense put him in great positions, getting the 5 interceptions, giving him short fields to convert and get the early big lead in the first half. But in the second half, the offense was completely stagnant, and part of that you could say was on the run game and Eckler not really a workhorse type back, more of a pass catching back out of the backfield. And so maybe that's part of the reason why they're struggling to agree on an extension there, and maybe looking elsewhere for the running back position. But yeah, I'm going to need to see some more production from Justin Herbert when it matters most, especially before I have him as a top 2 QB in the league. For me right now, he's probably about 6 or 7. I think guys put themselves ahead of him comfortably from last season, especially Jalen Hurts. Joe Burrow, I think comfortably is ahead of him at this point now. So I still have Josh Allen ahead. While he's lost in the playoffs, he's gotten his team to at least the third round in the playoffs. So yeah, let's wait a little bit before we crown Justin Herbert as king.
I agree. I agree. So we shall see how that works out for him. Yeah, he definitely still has some things to prove. I know there are folks, as you said, that have him stamped as an elite guy, but I've not been fully convinced. I definitely see what the potential is, but potential that never comes to fruition, it only means so much. So yeah, we'll see what's next for that Chargers squad, and you see what's going to go on with the Rams. As you pointed out earlier, that Baker Mayfield is gone. He's going off to Tampa Bay. A sad day for some Rams fans who had grown to like Baker over the last during that short run he made at the end of last season.
It was fun. It was entertaining.
Are there any free agents or names, even if they're not, like a tradable, a guy that's in trade discussions right now, anything of the sort that you like to see under center, or are you fine with Matt Stafford sticking with us for the next year or two, even with his injuries and all?
Seems like all the mid to bridge QB type guys are signing places. Like we saw Darnold sign somewhere. We saw Andy Dalton sign, Winston.
Right.
Jimmy G is probably like the top of the mid QBs.
Right.
He's signing with the Raiders. So all the guys that you would view as kind of like a bridge guy, it seems like are kind of off the market at this point. So I really don't know where else they would go free agency wise. I saw a post of Colin Kaepernick still talking about his workouts and everything. That dude's like 35 now at this point, 34. So I don't know how realistic that is at this point.
He's 34 with fresh legs. He hasn't played in 5 years, so
that could be interesting.
35 with injured.
If they want to give that a whirl, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I understand. Like if Stafford is healthy enough to go at the beginning of the season, I say throw him out there. Like they had the rapport between him and Kupp. Like we know that's a formula that works for sure. But if he's not healthy for several weeks,
different things though.
What did you say?
I said going at the start of the season and finishing the season are two different things though. I don't know if he finishes the season. So to that point, do you think who would you like to have potentially on your center if Matt Stafford can't sustain?
Yeah, I was gonna try to pull up their depth chart right now because I don't even know who backups are. I don't know if Walford is still there.
Walker was gone.
There was a black QB, right? Bryce Perkins, is that him?
Right. I don't know if he's there.
Yeah, so it's Bryce Perkins, Stafford, and Walford are on the roster.
Yeah.
That ESPN shows. So that's not gonna get the job done as far as getting wins if Stafford's hurt.
Right.
So they need to bring in somebody, but I don't know like who the current. I'm gonna see if I can pull up QB free agents right now. Was there a name that you had in mind?
I was gonna say start tanking for Caleb Williams. That's what I was gonna say. Draft somebody. There's a good group in this draft, so you definitely gotta grab one of these guys in this draft. Or if you're not aiming to aim for a guy like Caleb next year.
Yeah.
So
if they don't grab anyone, the tank is on. So they don't need to. Yeah. Let's see. Heineke, I'm not sure if he signed somewhere.
He just signed to the Falcons, I thought, for $20 million.
Did he? Okay.
Yep.
A lot of these other guys have signed. Did Jacoby Brissett re-sign?
I didn't see that. Maybe him. That could be decent, I guess. Better than nothing.
Yeah, that's oof. It's a pretty gross. It's pretty gross.
Go ahead. Go ahead and make sure them scouts are paid well and they have all the info they need on this draft because I think the guys that you have right now, as you pointed out, can sustain as needed to make any sort of run this season. So yeah, we shall see how that plays out. But definitely interesting things in LA on both sides, and I'm excited to continue to follow it all. Any other notes about either squad you wanted to make real quick?
How do you feel about Brandon Staley's coaching security this season?
I don't like it. I questioned all the whole time. So,
but that's kind of my point. Like, what do you think? Like, is his job in jeopardy midway through the season if they're kind of?
I would fire them. I would fire them. Let's in Jacksonville.
Yes, I know what you would have done, but I'm saying as far as the organization, do you think like he's secure for this whole season?
The team. From their side, that he seems to be secure. If they're going to fire him, they will fire them after that game with how it collapsed. But they made it seem that the whole team went through that, and they're going to bounce back, and they're fine with that core coaches and players.
They hired Kellen Moore, right?
They hired Kellen Moore as their OC. I guess they blame
Right.
more of the OC or the lack of or Staley's over involvement in the play calling for that collapse. So they got a better OC there with Kellen Moore. Him being the young fresh face that most people like still should be a fresh breath for them over there. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, I definitely have some major concerns for Staley there. But they seem to be I guess more to their side, as you're pointing out. They seem to be secure with him. So it is what it is. So we'll see how that plays. And yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see this year. I'm excited for it.
For sure. That's all I got.
Cool. That's all you guys. All I got. Wanted to get in real quick and talk about the LA stuff as we continue to talk about sports across the board. Make sure we stick to our LA things as we do. I'm excited to get more into it all. We may talk more about free agency another time, but for now, sticking with LA stuff as we said, that'll be it. We'll see Lamar Jackson for another episode, another day. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on with him all the time, but definitely continue to follow that as well as a Raven fan myself. And excited to see how things play out. But for now, that's it for this episode. Really appreciate y'all. As we said, a few more episodes on the way discussing March Madness and things in the NBA and all that kind of stuff. So appreciate y'all for tuning into this one. See y'all again soon. And we out here for now, man. Yeah, that's all I got. Appreciate y'all. Peace.
Deuces.